Hello, everybody. I'm Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. Last night, I started going through the amended lawsuit filing of Justin Baldoni. And if you're not familiar with what's been happening, Blake Lively filed, because it has to do with a workplace, it is a little bit different than just filing a regular civil suit. She filed in the state of California. She filed also in New York federally, trying to get them to give her a writ, which will then eventually be her able to file a civil suit. It's a whole different process from my understanding. Legally, I'm not a lawyer, but that's just what I read about how that process works, because it's different than just filing a civil lawsuit against somebody, because it has to do with the workplace. So she filed in the state of California. From my understanding, she also filed in New York City federally. So there's no way that I can tell like what is going to happen with that. But from my understanding, they have to do like a 90-day investigation, the state of California, and then they will give her what's called a writ, which will then essentially is giving their approval to move along and actually file it to where it is going to be a lawsuit. But Stephanie Jones, Justin Baldoni's former publicist, also is suing him separate for her own lawsuit. And I have all the lawsuit filings and videos, and I have them here on my YouTube. But Justin Baldoni has also filed a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times for working with Blake Lively. And them running the article that they did is essentially what dropped him from a $250 million contract with WME, which is William Morris Endeavor. It's one of the largest Hollywood talent agents. They represent A-list, like Angelina Jolie, Matt Damon, those types of A-listers. And so he's got that lawsuit. And then now he's got this $400 million lawsuit against Blake Lively and her husband, Ryan Reynolds. It was 179 pages long, whereas Blake Lively's was only, I think, 87 pages. And he amended it, which now is 224. I accidentally said 225 yesterday, but it's 224 pages now, the amended version, which is over 45 pages more added to it, because essentially internet sleuths doing what they do found embedded in the metadata of the information with the New York Times that there was actually an earlier date than the December 10th date that was in there, that it actually, the New York Times had it since October, which means that they had it prior knowledge about Blake Lively filing and had this article ready to just hit publish on their website even earlier than what they thought in December of 2024. So that's essentially where we're at. But going through it and going through the amended version, it's mind-boggling. If you go to www.thelawsuitinfo.com, you'll see two different PDF files, a timeline of events, and the amended version of the filing. But this is what's interesting going through it. And I know there's a lot of people that are going through it, but I also have it on my YouTube where you can just go through. I have a screen recording of the entirety of this, and I go through it slowly so you can pause and read each page if that's what you'd like to do. I know a lot of people are not interested in that, which is fine. But for anybody who is interested in the actual document, I have them. So there's that. So I'm going to pick up where I left off yesterday. And that was where there was clearly messages between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. And she starts making these almost veiled threats to him. Like, oh yeah, right here, where she says both Ryan and Blake have established themselves as absolute titans as writers and storytellers outside of their primary gig, just singing or just acting or blank or directing. I wonder what that is under the blank that's redacted right there. I'm so lucky to have them as creative barometers. But this whole thing is essentially Blake Lively using her proximity to power to her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and her proximity to power with her friend, her long-term friend of over 10 years, Taylor Swift, using them as an intimidation tactic. Which is beyond me, because if Blake Lively was this talented actress who visually, her job as an actress or an actor is to visually storytell. That's what essentially you're doing when you act in a movie or a TV show or any independent film or silent film. You're visually acting out a story. You're telling a story with your body, with your aesthetics, with your presence. That's what acting is. So this whole thing with everything being said about collaborators and, creative barometer. When you sign on to do a movie, there's a script. So your creative barometer can only go so far, because you still have to be within the confines of your script and your character. So I think this is all just emotional manipulation using words and prior experiences to manipulate your director and co-star and the person that owns the rights to the movie into giving you what you want, essentially. It's like, it's a nepotistic tantrum. And we know that Blake Lively, she might not be a nepo baby quite like what Shiloh Jolie Pitt, and I know she recently dropped Pitt from her name, but Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's kids, those are nepo babies. But Blake Lively does come from wealthier privilege. Her father was an actor for decades, and he wasn't a A-list actor, but he had very steady, consistent work throughout his entire career, and he was paid well for it. And she comes from a family that has a history of being in Hollywood and acting and all of that. So even if they're not at that level of Angelina Jolie, she still comes from privilege and a level of wealth that I would definitely classify that as nepotistic. This type of entitlement and oh my goodness, it's just so mind-blowing to me. This type of entitlement means that somebody definitely has been spoiled in their life or has rarely been told no. And it's always hidden behind this veil of, well, modern feminism. Modern feminism means allowing a woman to not only have equality, but equity. To not just say, yeah, you're going to get paid the same as a man for the same exact job. You're going to get paid equally, but we're going to make it even better. We're going to give you equity. We're going to make sure we do everything we can above and beyond to make you as a woman feel like you're equal to everybody else. But all she did was create a bunch of financial issues for all the other cast and staff members, issues for production, issues for Sony, issues for the premiere, issues for even people that were interviewing her about the movie. And it's just a big mess. So it begs the question, while yes, there are women directors and women who can write screenplays or write the script for movies, and a lot of them are fantastic and wonderful. Maybe Blake Lively is not one of those people that is actually cut out for doing that type of job, because she clearly made a big mess and a big commotion out of the entirety of the whole thing, when it should have been, you can clearly see where Justin Baldoni has been trying to really protect the movie. He loved the book, was touched by the book. A lot of fans of the book was ecstatic to see it be turned into a movie. And the fact that he was just really trying to protect that and trying to bring this book to life. He was really trying to tell a story. And he was trying to do so in an appropriate and respectable way, and totally within his confines of his job description and his rights as the person who bought and owned the rights to it. So it's just interesting to see, because this entirety of, oh, the veil of Hollywood and what really goes on behind the scenes, what we're seeing, because we knew that there was a PR machine, but now we're seeing it in writing here, everything, how these people that are working in PR, how they really operate. So to me, the really interesting thing here is that this lawsuit, just like the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard lawsuit, it really opened up society and the public's view of what really goes on in Hollywood and how things really are operating, how all of this is a part of being a celebrity. And it's not that these celebrities are just become famous overnight because they're talented. We know that it's not hard work, and we know that it's not talent that gets you fame, and therefore fame, wealth. Okay. Those things don't ever go hand in hand. I truly believe that almost anybody could be made a celebrity under certain circumstances. And you will go back and look at a lot of pop stars or a lot of actors, and you will see exactly how their entire career and their persona and their public image has been curated to create their fame. And so this is really showing society that it's not hard work that pays off. It's not talent that pays off. This is a strategic PR machine, a giant PR machine behind all of these celebrities and these actors. And it's really fascinating, but it's also this lawsuit here, if it does go to trial, and there is a trial date set for March 9th of 2026. And it is said that essentially what the judge can do, and I'm not a legal expert, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if this is the truth or not, but essentially what the judge can do is say, okay, well, she's suing him, and he's suing her, and then there's the whole him suing the New York Times. So there's all, 4 or 5 different lawsuits, with the exception of the Stephanie Jones one suing him, who is his former publicist. What the judge can say is that they're going to take all of these lawsuits that are essentially the same people, that they can combine them to one trial, to one lawsuit. And Blake Lively now has been trying to she's trying to backtrack now. And this is really fascinating, because I want to show you this. Let me move this over here really quick. Now this is really crazy, because if you look here, Justin Baldoni's lawyers want judge to deny any gag order. Argue Blake Lively started this media feeding frenzy. So essentially what is going on here is that Blake Lively is trying to get the courts, a judge, to issue a gag order to prevent him from being able to say anything to the press, to any mainstream media at all. She's trying to prevent him. And kudos to him for creating the actual lawsuitinfo.com page so people can actually see his amended version of his lawsuit and the timeline of actual events. So she's trying to get the courts and the judge to say, you know what, we're going to issue a gag order so he can't speak at all. So he can't speak. He can't put anything out in the media. But this comes after she is the one who already did it. She started all of this. She started all of this with the New York Times. And as long as it's okay for her to do it, she wants to prevent him from having that same privilege and luxury that she already utilized, because it's backfiring on her. Well, she should have thought about all of that before. It's a little too late now, a day late and a dollar short, so to speak. So I want to also show you this. This is also news. Blake Lively allegedly objects to being deposed by Justin Baldoni's attorney amid lawsuit. This is rich. This is so entitled. This is probably the most cringy, most entitled thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Blake Lively allegedly does not want to be deposed by Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman. And yes, I did see a video saying that Perez Hilton, Candace Owens, and Megyn Kelly are all represented by Brian Friedman and that they are biased. And that is why those three creators are backing Justin Baldoni. Not the fact that the evidence and the lawsuits and all of the exhibits that are in the lawsuits, not that they just speak for themselves, right? Because it was definitely her filing that had itty bitty tiny pieces completely pulled out of context, where his is 224 pages now, and it includes so much more information and text messages in their entirety, so you can actually see what was being said. She leaves out a lot of her messages. And so I think that's why she wants to prevent him from being able to put anything in the press, why she wants a gag order. But it's saying, according to court documents obtained, that attorney Kevin Fritz, who represents Baldoni, 41, and his studio Wayfarer, wrote to a judge Thursday, January 30th in a letter. In the letter, Fritz claimed that Lively, 37, and her husband Ryan Reynolds object to Friedman conducting her testimony. Specifically, the Lively party's counsel indicated that they object to Brian J. Friedman personally taking Mrs. Lively's deposition. Based upon unspecified statements made by Friedman, the filing read. When asked to elaborate on the grounds for their objection, counsel for the Lively parties declined to do so, meaning that her lawyers won't specify why, but she is refusing to be deposed by Brian Friedman. That's not how this works. Okay, when you bring a lawsuit and you're alleging all of this stuff, you better be absolutely standing 10 toes down with every fiber of your being. You better be telling the truth. So, with that said, let's get back to the lawsuit really quick. So that is where it stands. Blake Lively she's refusing to be deposed by his attorneys. You don't get to choose that. You don't get to have a say. If you're living in your truth and you're telling fundamentally the truth of what truly happened, of what really went down, you should be 100% confident in that. And it shouldn't matter, because Justin Baldoni has the civil, constitutional, and basic right to have whatever attorney he hires or retains. And that is not her choice to be able to say who, where, when, why, how. If she's telling the truth, none of that would matter, other than she goes to the deposition, they probably will record it, and she answers everything truthfully and honestly. But we'll have to wait and see. So here we are. Difficult proved to be a gross understatement. Though Baldoni initially invited Lively to make changes to the script, Lively began altering the script daily. The frequency of Lively's revisions alarmed the producers, director, and studio, who anticipated that her interference would persist every day of the shoot and disrupt a carefully planned production schedule. And that's exactly what she did. And of course, we go down to, we started to talk about this part, and this is, of course, where Baldoni had been introduced to trainer Don, who became Baldoni's personal trainer by Lively. Don directed Baldoni's preparation for the film role, including his nutrition and exercise, making special accommodations for Baldoni's back injury. Baldoni even paid to receive Don's meal delivery service, and it goes on to talk about Baldoni privately reached out to Don, his personal trainer, to ask what Lively weighed so that he could train his back muscles, because he has disc issues in his back. Train his back muscles in preparation for a lift scene where he has to actually lift her so he doesn't harm himself, but more importantly, he does not drop and harm her. And this was important to avoid injury, not only for Baldoni, who suffered from lifelong back injuries, multiple bulging discs, and chronic pain, but also to Lively if the lift could not be completed successfully and safely, notwithstanding Lively's recent attempts to deny the existence of any such scene. It was only nixed at her insistence after having been planned and rehearsed. And then it talks about how on April 25th, 2023, Lively summoned Baldoni to her penthouse, purportedly to discuss the script. However, he was met by angry Reynolds, who screamed at Baldoni and accused him of fat-shaming his wife. "How dare you effing ask about my wife's weight? What is wrong with you?" The confrontation by Reynolds and Lively was so aggressive that Baldoni felt he had no choice but to offer repeated and completely unwarranted apologies for what was a good faith and reasonable question to ask of his trainer. Reynolds demanded Baldoni remove the scene entirely. Lively refused to perform the lift in the scene at the end, even after it was rehearsed with a stunt double. In her own complaint, Lively flat out lies about the absence of the scene by claiming that the scene wasn't in the film. The only reason the scene wasn't in the film was because Lively and Reynolds ensured that it was taken out of the film. Accommodating Lively, Baldoni rewrote the scene with Lively, despite the fact that for creative reasons, the scene was important to him as a storyteller and director. In fact, Lively had earlier expressed insecurity about her postpartum figure, and Baldoni made every attempt to genuinely reassure her. In this exchange, he stated, as her director, that anything you feel insecure about, we will talk through and get creative together and make you comfortable. I just don't want you to stress about your body. It's the last thing you need. When he later tried to do just that, Lively responded with allegations of harassment, followed by a lawsuit. So here we are. Blake Lively is white. Justin Baldoni is blue. She says, kicking ass, but it's still a ton of work with a ton of time. What's the chance we can do body scenes at the end of the schedule? He says, I'm sure you are. Honestly, there's 1 billion moving parts to schedule right now. I just turned in the rewrite, and so they are hard at work. So much of it comes down to locations and the other cast's availability, etc. So to be really honest, I have no clue. I want you to know you will look amazing. Anything you are insecure about, we will talk through and get creative together and make sure you're comfortable. I just don't want you to stress about your body. It's the last thing you need. As soon as I have a rough schedule that's even remotely accurate, I'll share and I'll make sure the team keeps this in mind as well. Heart emoji. And Blake Lively goes on to say, thank you for your voice memo. It's deeply appreciated. You are everything you promised as a collaborator. Thank you. I know my job here, and this piece is in big part my job here. We both understand the assignment as actors in the roles, but also as producers, also as marketers. We understand artistically, yes, but we get what we need to do in all aspects for the movie commercially, as woke as we both are and work to be. This movie requires a certain aesthetic. It's part of the job that we both excitedly signed up for. I don't shy away from it because it's not problematic. It's the assignment. Like when someone is about to start an athletic event, it's their job to be in top shape. My husband and I both look at certain roles as athletic events, and this is one of them. It's not always a part of the job, but on this one it is, and it's great. As much as I'd love to not think about it, that would be irresponsible and also impossible because it's unrealistic to not acknowledge what I need to do. She's going on and on. Is this about her just having a baby, her physical appearance? I'm not sure what she's hinting at here, but it would have been so much easier if she just said what she meant instead of all this word salad woke stuff that she's going in circles, word circles with nothing. This is my job here, and I meet my responsibilities with extreme work ethic. I look for solutions to achieve my high goals instead of lowering my goals. Well, you only had one job. So understanding the assignment that you only had one job, and your job is to play Lily Blooms and to do your promotional piece, like attending the premiere and doing interviews. You know, what high goals could you have other than that? You know, just doing your job and getting it done. We all win here when we're firing at our highest capabilities, and you and I both are and will continue to. I just need as much time as possible because I just had my fourth baby. There you go. That's what's hidden in all of that, is her insecurity because she just had her fourth baby. You signed on to do the movie, though. That's what's mind-boggling. Like, nobody forced her to want to do the movie or to come on and decide to do the movie, but herself. I understand that you'll never personally know all the nuances of the challenges unless you lived this physical moment in time. I'm in with this physical road ahead, so having your understanding and support to help me pull this off is critical and very, very appreciated. Not just in my experience now, but also healing from experience past. So thank you. What does you healing from experience past have to do with him or his movie? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So thank you. We are going to kill it and be so fit. They're going to have to Lola us to look less banging. So that essentially is the part that really bothers me, is that she is using emotional and verbal manipulation of past experiences to get her way. Her nepotistic tantrum on this film to have her every wish and whim be appeased. And that to me is just cringeworthy, because if somebody is R-worded in their past, you don't blame that on your current husband or wife or boyfriend. You know, you may explain that to them, but you don't expect them to accommodate all of your issues. Otherwise, you choose not to do the movie, right? You choose not to be in that relationship at that time if that's not the place that you're in, right? So it's kind of personal accountability and personal responsibility to a degree. That she just had her fourth baby, and while I understand what that's like, I do, it's not his problem. And it's not his issue. It's not his place to have to fix that. That's your responsibility to say, hey, I just had my fourth baby. I am not physically, mentally, emotionally in a place where I can do a movie. But you chose to do it. So that's just where we're at. Lively then delivered an ultimatum. If Baldoni could not get on board with her work methods, he still had 2 weeks to recast her. Implicit in this ultimatum was a threat to destroy Baldoni's reputation and career. And that's not fair. That is so not fair. As Lively well knew, Baldoni has worked hard throughout his career to earn and deserve a reputation based on his passionate advocacy for women's rights, a reputation she would later exploit and weaponize against him. If Lively were to back out of the film, especially based on accusations of fat shaming, Baldoni's reputation and life's work would be left in tatters. He had no choice but to bow to Lively and Reynolds' demands. Concerns about Lively's undue influence over the film began to grow even before filming started. Producer, he cannot let her have opinions on everything. Jamie Heath says, Blake, producer, or she's going to be co-directing this film. Yes. Yeah, we are talking about that a lot yesterday. Exactly. This is why everyone is starting to lose it. We have been talking about the same thing for months. Yep, it's starting to get resolved. And he says to Jamie Heath, no, it's not. He ended up being right, because look at where we're at today. It's now February 2025. And this is not, if this does go to trial and she doesn't get smart and settle it, which this is my opinion, she should do everything she can to try to settle this. She doesn't want to be deposed. She wants a gag order, stopping him from being able to say anything, even leak real evidence to the press. She's trying to backtrack. She's trying to backpedal because she's getting all the negative press from independent people like me, like you, people in the comments, normal everyday citizens. And the thing is it's too late for that. She's the one who snowballed this entire thing. It's time for her to put all 10 toes down and say it with her whole chest. And if this is really what happened to her, to tell the truth. Otherwise, this is a time for her to really say, okay, you know what? We got to settle this. We got to settle this because she wasn't being honest and truthful in everything. And this was deliberate for trying to take him down because she's upset she was not getting her way. There is nothing more disgusting to me than a privileged, entitled, middle-aged Caucasian woman who is white, who is beautiful, blonde hair, blue-eyed, stereotype of the all-American girl next door. Literally using the Me Too movement or the Time's Up movement or this wokeness in a way to weaponize it against harming others. Because there are really, truly, every second out there in America, in the world, there are survivors and true victims of very heinous things. And it's not somebody that comes from privilege and wealth, who has a very successful husband, who's not only famous, but wealthy. And to me, that is just even more disgusting and heinous if she's not telling the truth. And the fact that she can even feel entitled or in a space where she can weaponize the American legal system to intentionally and maliciously damage and harm somebody else's reputation. Doesn't matter what your opinion is if you don't like that person. Your opinion, Blake Lively, doesn't rule the world or make law. And your opinion doesn't mean that it's right, that it's fact. What is going on here is not just a he said, she said. This is going to go down in history as a lawsuit that is setting a precedent for not allowing privileged women to act like victims when they're not. If she's truly not telling the truth. And that's just my opinion. But we're going to wait and see because this is already talking March 9th of 2026. If this does go to trial, unless the judge's discretion, he changes the date for whatever reason, they have this whole year to be able to go in front of the judge and argue different semantics and to get ready for an actual trial. So I would be surprised if they don't try to, Blake Lively at this point tries to backpedal even more and tries to quietly settle all of this. But I think it's a little bit late for that. So it says filming begins as Lively builds her takeover strategy. Principal photography began for the film in early May of 2023. On set, Lively continued to maintain what later appeared to be a facade of a close, caring relationship with Baldoni, even as she continued to make escalating demands for creative control. By the time production began, Lively and Baldoni had worked closely together for months, and Lively expressed warm gratitude for her collaboration with Baldoni on the eve of filming. This note means so much to me. I'm excited to start tomorrow, but it's only one piece of the journey. We started months ago, and I'm grateful for all we've built so far. Thank you for caring so much and for putting every bit of you into showing it. You have given so much of your time to fight for great, and that hasn't gone unappreciated or unseen for a moment. Let's do this shit. That's from Blake Lively to Justin Baldoni. Throughout the first filming period, Lively continued to share her open and unguarded thoughts on life and her character. She talked about wardrobe choices to make her character much sexier. I don't know if you guys have watched It Ends With Us. It's on Netflix. I kind of wish everybody would because I kind of want everybody's thoughts and opinions on the movie. But Blake Lively, as beautiful And privileged as she is, you know, she's not like a 10 like Angelina Jolie. She's not an A-lister like Angelina Jolie. And unfortunately, when you see Blake Lively in the movie, you know, it's not a 20-year-old Blake Lively. You can tell that she's older. And the character, I don't like the wardrobe. She based the wardrobe off of her own real life wardrobe and her friends like Gigi Hadid, you know. And so I think the wardrobe for the character Lily Blooms was not, it didn't match a character who was struggling, who lost her father, who was struggling to open up her business and did open up her floral shop. And it's not like this huge successful chain of floral shops. It's just an independent little floral shop. Her wardrobe was not fitting of somebody who just independently owns a small business. Like, she wouldn't be wearing no $5,000 red bottom heels. So if you watch the movie, you can clearly tell that the character Lily Blooms, her aesthetic and her outfits, and it just doesn't match who the character in the book is and what her life experience is based off of. So that's one thing that a lot of people have noticed, that her wardrobe sucked. It was bad, and it wasn't fitting to the character at all. It wasn't even thought. The character wasn't even a forethought in her mind. It was just what she thought she looked good or cool or hip or younger in. And what she looks like is Blake Lively, the age she is, just trying to dress younger. That's what it came across as, because that's essentially what she did. They didn't really take into consideration the character per se. Sorry, I keep getting a piece of hair, one hair that keeps going right in my eye. So this is another one. Down here it says, will show you both ways, but Beanie is much sexier. It's the look. Feels TV without, especially with a crop top in the snow. It justifies the rest of the skin, and also is a girl I would check out walking down the street, because it washes the effort off the rest of the look. I think I think there's just some autocorrect or auto change going on there, because some of those words don't even make sense together. I'm not going to tell you that you were amazing because you tease me for being so sentimental, but you were amazing today. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I'm just a ball buster, but it means a lot to me. I care a great deal and always want to deliver. You were terrific. I'm proud of everything we did today, but really every day. And then Justin Baldoni, loved that. And he just says, thank you. Lively's use of the word ballbuster would certainly have made it on her 17-point list had it been Baldoni who said it. Oh, snap. Her word, using the phrase literally, I'm just a ballbuster. That's like saying COCK blocker. Lively's intimate comfort with Baldoni continued as filming progressed. In June of 2023, after the alleged harassment and uncomfortable situations allegedly occurred, she even invited Baldoni to her trailer to rehearse while pumping her breast milk. I'm pumping in my trailer if you want to work out our lines. Justin Baldoni even responds back to that, that he was actually eating with the crew at the moment, and I'll be there later. It sounded very much like he's like, oh, nope, don't want to go. But it's her that's inviting him into her trailer while she's bare breast and pumping. And in fact, she makes sure to let him know she's pumping. It's kind of weird. That's very kind of weird, because no woman would say that to a man unless you explicitly want him to know. Like, you're not going to go do a number 2 in the bathroom and be texting somebody, hey, you want to work on our lines? I'm just doing a number 2 right now. Like, unless you somehow want them to see that just is That's illogical. It really is. Lively was so close and comfortable with Baldoni that she freely breastfed in front of him during meetings. Most women do. Don't care if anybody is around when they're breastfeeding their child, including when her husband was present. Oftentimes, Lively's baby nurse would come in mid-meeting with Lively's hungry baby, and Lively would breastfeed openly and without hesitation. On every occasion, Baldoni averted his eyes from Lively's chest, either maintaining eye contact or looking away. Lively also took photos of him holding and soothing her crying baby in her penthouse. They laughed deliriously during late-night writing sessions. All of these events took place after the alleged harassment. Lively's accusations seemed to come out of the blue. She even knew his tea order out of respect for Lively's privacy. This complaint does not include any images of her family. That right there, you know, I thought at first when I heard all of this happening the day that all this stuff dropped, I really thought there could be truth to some of her, you know, allegations, and that he really may have just been this grimy, you know, POS. But I think he really does try to be a stand-up man and a better man. And he actively, the first step to being better as a human being is recognizing that you could be better and actively working towards that positively and proactively. That's true for all of us, everybody that's alive right now. But that, out of respect for Lively's privacy, this complaint does not include any images of her children. Despite him having held a crying, you know, fourth baby that she brought into the world in her penthouse. That's a stand-up guy right there who would say, you know, we're not, even though I have these for exhibits, I'm not going to put them in here so the world doesn't see them. So we can respect her privacy and her family, her children. En route to you. Can I get you anything? No, all good. Thank you, though. I'm getting you a hot mocha, and do you know what Brandon likes? Lively herself set the tone for personal discussions on set, including what language was acceptable. For example, on one occasion while filming a restaurant scene, Lively sat on the floor painfully expensive shoes while discussing with a group of male cast and crew how sexy her shoes were. Lively had no issue using the word sexy herself, but apparently took note both times Baldoni said the word in her presence. That's hypocrisy at its finest. That's what this whole entire, I'm sorry if you're one of those woke people, but that's the problem with woke culture, is that we're going to tell everybody else it's not okay to say, do this or that, but it's okay for you to do whatever with no regard to anybody else, right? That's hypocrisy. Let's just call it exactly what that definition is. By the very definition, that's hypocrisy. That's being a hypocrite. This is evidenced in film footage captured between scene takes. Though she was loose and relaxed in her speech on set, she was increasingly stringent on the demands she imposed on production. She rewrote her own dialogue constantly and took it upon herself to make unilateral changes to other characters' lines, effectively rewriting the script day by day. And she didn't even read the book. She refused to read the book. And she has the audacity to think that she knows Colleen Hoover's book and character better than her own book. Like, she refused to read It Ends With Us. And so she's actually trying to rewrite everything and different characters and the lines and all of this. And she had no knowledge because she refused to read the book. That's mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing audacity. Wow. This pattern of domineering interference caused unending interruptions to the production process, lending to entirely unnecessary stress, chaos, and delays. It was well documented on film footage how frequently she requested changes and how at every turn Baldoni took her thoughts, and out of fear of repercussions from Lively and her allies, he constantly tried to accommodate them. During the labor strikes, Lively moves to seize absolute power. And it goes on to talk about that. So we're at page 39. I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to take up everybody's time too much. But I just think that these exhibits here that he's showing, even the pictures that he does include, it's not looking good for Blake Lively. It's really not. But I think it's really sad also. When it came to the premiere. The fact that should have been the happiest day of his career and thus far. This is scrolling down to page 108 and 109, but just showing very quickly that is him with his family, his wife, friends, attending his own premiere, while she's upstairs saying whatever the hell she wants to interviewers. That pretty much sets the tone. That gives you everything that you need to know in regards to that. And this, Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool making fun of him with Nice Pool. That's not just using comedy to hurt somebody. That's deliberately trying to dismantle somebody's entire reputation and career and life. And even if you hated somebody, why would you want to do that to somebody? All I know is if this goes to trial in March of 2026, that's a whole year plus away. It's going to come out. The truth will always prevail. And what's done in the dark will always come to light. With that said, have a great night, everybody. I love you. I'll see you on the flip side. If you want, send me all the love you can. Subscribe, like, comment, share. Stick around. Give me a chance. You might like what I have to say.